We are powerful and dangerous, but we are wise and tame, and we do things for the right reasons. But if I have to slay someone and go into court and slay them because I've given them grace and they are spitting in the face of it, and you get me into the courtroom, we're going to be showing a lot of truth for where it is that you are, and it's going to come out. You don't want to be on the opposite side of us in court. Okay, so this clip, we're going to watch one friend of mine and Tom, who we've been commenting about. I don't know Tom yet, but I'm sure I will. Okay. Most lawyers can meet pretty much any lawyer around that you want to.
Right.
It's not, we're kind of all in the club, and it's not difficult to talk to others that are in the club. The club is kind of big, but it's not that big. I would think, there's 100,000 licensed attorneys in the state of Texas, and I think 60,000 of them are practicing and working. A lot of them are retired. A lot of them are just out of the industry. But there's 50 states, and so at most that would be 5 million out of 300 million in the United States. But I think it's only probably about 1 million. Mm-hmm. So lawyers, we all tend to talk to each other. But this is going to be a friend of mine is the judge, and at the time she was just a lawyer, but she was doing this show. She is now Judge Vonda Bailey in Dallas County. She actually is a judge now. And I love this one because I think I know where this one's going to go, but I haven't watched this whole thing. And I think that there is going to be something in here that I need to correct because there's actually been a slight change in the law. Well, not slight, a big change in the law that has been upheld since this video came out. And I'll get to that in this, so stay tuned. But here we go. And probably sound would be good.
Why? Maybe it's because she wants to get out of the pain.
All right.
I just found out my wife just left her corporate job for a cashier job.
Okay, she left her corporate job for a cashier job. That is called intentional underemployment. She's doing that to not pay child support, which, by the way, this is the dumbest thing you can do. So in order to not pay out 20%, you're going to cut 80%. So, and you're not going to support your child. You're so spiteful to the other side that you refuse to give them any money. So you're going to not give them $20 by not making $100. And you're going to do that over and over and over and over and over again. So you're going to go from a $100,000 a year job where you pay $20,000 worth of child support to earning $20,000 a year and you're going to sacrifice $80,000 worth of income to not pay $20,000 out. That is stupid.
Yes.
And that is purely idiotic and revenge. And by the way, that's not a client that I would ever take, nor anybody from our firm. We don't operate that way.
Name of this video is called Child Support When Parent is
See, Judge Vonda B. That's my friend Vonda.
Intentionally underemployed. Intentional underemployment
awesome.
Occurs when a spouse leaves a high-paying job or a lower-paying job and then requests a modification in child support based off of their new lower income.
Yep. If you lose your job and you're legitimately getting the best job and you take a pay cut.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
So if I was a judge and someone intentionally did that, I would still make them pay the child support.
That's what you do. That's what every judge does. Yeah, that is exactly what happens. And I bet you 50 cents that is what Vonda is about to do.
Yeah.
And that is what she would do on the bench. By the way, these people that try this, they think they're so clever.
And
you
smart.
think you've figured out and you're going to game the system. Yeah. Guess what? We've seen it before. We have a word for it. It's called intentional unemployment.
Right.
Intentional underemployment.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it a million times. You're not smart. You're not unique. You're not special. We know what you're doing. It's really obvious. Here's the thing. When you're going to court, don't be a jerk.
Right.
There's another A and then blank blank hole. That's the other word for jerk. Yeah.
Right.
Don't be a jerk.
Right.
Especially in court because you look like an a-hole.
Payments of what?
Child support, ma'am.
Okay.
We have a child together that we had in our marriage, and and all of a sudden I just found out just recently that she left her corporate job.
See that body language? You didn't because you're not watching the feed.
Yeah.
But that body language, you do that in court, why don't you just have a sign going, I'm guilty, they're right. Mm-hmm. That attitude, no. You always sit there being proper and looking good and respectful. Johnny Depp did a really good job of that, actually, through the majority of his trial.
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, not
Not
so
so
much.
much.
And guess what? The jury was watching them both.
Yep.
And body language speaks. I've seen studies that say 5% of what you actually say is what's heard. Maybe it's 20%, but 80 to 95% is body language.
Totally. I look at someone's body
what?
language when I'm
Couple
speaking to them.
dollar paying job. How can you do this to us? How can you do
Excuse
this to
me, sir. Sir, do not address her. Address me.
There's Vonda. So yes, you do not talk and start arguing with the person over there in court. You
Right.
address the court. You're only there to talk to the judge. And what you don't want to do is the judge is the decision maker. You're in a negotiation. You used to be in a negotiation with your spouse and their lawyer, and the lawyer's negotiating. Now you're not. In court,
Right.
you're negotiating with the judge. The judge is the decision maker.
Well, you have to remember.
And the jury, you're
if
negotiating.
If you couldn't solve it before hiring an attorney, you're not going to solve it in the courtroom
Yeah,
on your own.
Exactly. And that argument only makes you look bad. You know what they say? When you wrestle with a pig, all you do is get dirty and stinky, and the pig likes it.
Yes, ma'am. I do apologize.
Yes, Your Honor. Do
Yes,
not
Your
call
Honor.
a judge ma'am or sir.
Your Honor is okay. Actually, in Texas, a lot of times lawyers will say judge and refer to judge. And the judges around here, I think, like that. I mean, it's very, very common. I've seen people that have become judges doing that before they became judges. I've seen judges talk to each other and say judge, so you can call them judge respectfully. And by the way, if you ever say the words with all due respect, you're not giving any due respect. Eliminate that phrase, because if you say that, that's basically going, read between the lines, with all due respect. Like, no, you don't do that. You never say that. You just respectfully speak to them and you say your point. And I might say, Your Honor, and then state my point. But to go, Your Honor, with all due respect, that's going, without, Your Honor, F you.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And when you say that phrase, you are doing yourself no good, because all it does is reflect badly back on you. I have seen yes, sir, and yes, ma'am said, and maybe I don't know where
If
Tom's
I was a
at,
judge,
but
that wouldn't bother me.
it wouldn't bother me. But we're in the South. We're in Texas,
Right.
And so yes, ma'am, and yes, sir,
It's very
is very
respectful.
respectful around here. I don't know that I agree with that. But if you go, no, what, you give that attitude or any of that,
Yeah.
do not do that.
That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
When I found out, it was just like, I was just shocked. I didn't know how else to express it, but we had a child together.
How old is the child?
This child is 5 years old, ma'am.
Is she paying anything in child
Yes, ma'am.
support?
She's paying for the medical.
This child is 5 years old. Okay, so the thing about her show is these are actors. This is a setup. It's not even like Judge Judy. Because Judge Judy, so
Yeah.
what Judge Judy is actually doing is she is essentially arbitrating. And the deal with Judge Judy is, at least the last time I was aware of this, was the litigants, the case is worth $5,000. So they fly the litigants in, they put them up for a hotel, and they split $5,000. So if you win $1,000, they pay that $1,000 out of the top, and then the remainder of the $5,000 is split between the two.
Oh.
That's why they're never really that mad or
Yeah.
devastated or unhappy, and they'll give the interview afterwards. And I think they're contractually obligated to give the interview at the end. And it's binding arbitration that they're submitting to. It's small claim stuff.
That's interesting.
We have been solicited for our clients to go on those shows. We may have had one a few years ago for something. They usually don't do family law stuff, but sometimes. What Vonda's doing is
usually they're fighting over a dog or
yeah,
rent.
yeah, something silly.
Yeah.
I have done custody agreements for pets. A lot of people have. Someone did it for a jet ski. I saw it in a lawyer's group posted. They said, I just did a custody sharing agreement for a jet ski.
Well, did you see the one? So there was one Judge Judy one. I just saw it recently where it was over a dog. These two ladies had this little dog, and they were like, yeah, we got him, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, where's the dog? And they're like, well, it's out there. Bring
it
the dog
and
in
the dog
here.
runs
Because the
over to
guy
one of
was
them.
saying, it's my dog.
Yeah.
And the dog.
So here's the thing. I don't know that my dog in that stimulation type of environment would have a recall they would,
If
we have
your dog
Dalmatians. They would be
had-
all around. And
I think if they hadn't seen you in a while and they saw you out of nowhere, oh no, they would run to you.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
probably.
that situation, that
Probably.
dog hadn't seen its owner in a while. I think it would
Yeah.
have been a year or so.
Really?
Yeah. And so for that dog to just instantaneously run to its owner, you knew
Yeah.
that was his
But-
dog.
But maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's just risky. I think it was clear in that one.
I think they would.
All right. But what Vonda's doing is these are actors and this is staged. And
Okay.
so the child was like 5. Like no one.
Someone would know.
Yeah.
My child's 5
If
years
you're
old.
actually in court and you go, how old is your child? Like 5? You just lost custody.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know how old your child is. You need to know your child's doctors, their teachers, their coaches, their schedules,
I'm going to tell
their
you
medications,
right now.
their health conditions.
No man knows that stuff. There's very few. My husband doesn't know that stuff. I even talked to a
I
dad.
disagree with you.
I talked
I know
to
a lot
dad
of dads that know that
yesterday,
stuff.
And I said, "What grade is your daughter in?" "Oh, she's in first." "Oh, who's her teacher?" Oh man, that's a mom question. And I laughed. I was like, "Oh, that's my husband."
So-
He would have said the same thing.
So those cliches do happen, but I'm just telling you they're not universal. That may be 100% of your world, Jennifer. But I know a lot. When we have a lot of clients, and I ask them, even in the initial consultation, they rattle off the answers, no problem.
It's kind of funny because with my husband, I said if we ever got divorced,
but if you're-
I would fight you tooth and nail. You wouldn't even know. They would go,
You
"What's your
wouldn't
child's
have to.
doctor?"
He would know. He would just give you the kids. Like, if Summer and I split up, I already know I have to support her enough to take care of all 4 dogs, and so I got to make sure that they have the land and stuff to run around. I would just do the right thing. But the fact that I'm like that is probably why we won't split up. So, takes care of itself.
Bills, and she's paying for the support as well.
Medical support, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a reason why you're
So they're both doing yes, ma'am, and they're actors, and she's okay with it. I mean,
not paying to support this child?
First of all, I left my corporate paying job.
I want to hear a real good reason, and I want to see why she's a cashier or what happened.
Right.
There might be a good reason for this. I bet there's not, but there might be.
And after our divorce, I know he mentioned I'm his wife. Correction, I'm his ex-wife.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
Oh, that's a classic.
Continue.
So
likes that too.
we left that.
You wouldn't be a child support court if they were still married.
Obviously,
also,
yeah.
both of them aren't standing. Usually, when you were talking to a judge,
Not necessarily. In some courts, yeah, but a lot of times they'll have you testify from the bench, or they'll have you come up and testify at the witness stand, or they'll walk you up to the. There's in front of most of the courts here. There's a table, and you approach the bench and you stand there. So some courts want you to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Some courts want you to stand. I actually had a client complaint on a client who won, but complained about me because I made either a seated or standing objection in a court where I wasn't supposed. I had just done a week-long trial right before that where the judge wanted the other one. So I think that judge wanted us to sit down while we objected. And so my normal habit was to stand up. But I didn't stand during one of the objections, and the judge said, please stand, which was natural, not a big deal to me, but my client thought I did something wrong, even though I won.
Isn't it funny, the little bitty things?
Well, the
that
clients don't really know what's going on a lot,
Yeah.
and they have nothing to judge by, and they get scared, and
Well,
they're real
all they
paranoid about
know-
things. And what they don't realize is that in court, you're going to get scared by almost everything that happens, and you're going to have objections that are overruled
Right.
and sustained on both sides, no matter what.
But we live in the age of law and order and stuff like that. And so people just go off TV shows and think this is how it's supposed
Yeah.
to be done. And they don't realize that isn't real.
Yes, and they also have no idea what the judge is actually looking for.
Right.
And
And
they
every judge has different
Yeah.
things in their courtroom that they want.
Well, and they're looking for legal standards and certain legal facts. And a lot of times people go in and they're telling their story and they're telling why they're right. And a lot of times why they're right to be there has nothing to do with what the judge is looking for. Because a lot of times they're arguing especially in a divorce case, a lot of times they're arguing, I'm right to get this divorce. Whereas the judge doesn't care about that at all. The judge knows everybody gets a divorce for a reason. They're looking for who's the primary caretaker of the children, what property is it that you have, what are your plans for the kids, how much child support should be ordered, what are your bills. They're just very factual about this because they're trying to just get the two of you apart. They don't want to get caught into your drama. In fact, Vonda's slogan was "No more drama with Vonda."
You stand up.
I left my job, and the reason why I left it, and I did do it intentionally, I felt that it was not right.
Wait a minute. You intentionally left your job?
Yes.
So she's even hitting one of the legal words, intentional underemployment. Let's see. There might be a good reason why. Your Honor, I was having medical issues. The stress at that job, I was no longer able to function.
Or I was being sexually harassed.
That's a good one.
You know.
Yes, ma'am.
They changed my requirements and they wanted me to travel 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was just not going to work for me with having a child.
They asked me to do something incredibly dangerous to risk my life, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
They asked me to expose myself to chemicals that I wasn't willing to. I was just an office worker. It's got to be something pretty extreme.
I did. I had enough money in savings to still provide for my child.
Boom. I'm not reducing your child support. You just sank your ship.
Oh, yeah.
I got enough money in savings. Great. You're still going to pay your child support. It doesn't mean that you get to reduction. So what she said is you're okay. And now you're trying to not pay your obligation over there because you think it's based on income. Well, no.
And still provide medical insurance. So I felt that, the stress of my divorce wasn't inhibiting me from performing my job.
The stress of my divorce was inhibiting me from performing my job. Weak.
So is she
Possible,
trying to say
maybe.
there was writing on the wall
What
from
she's
her
trying
job?
to do is, he's a bad guy. It's his fault. I can't deal with this. I shouldn't have to pay him because he's making this difficult on me.
Or it could have been she's trying to say like the writing was on the wall from her job. Like she was about to get fired.
Maybe.
So
So
she had to resign.
There are plenty of people who really start performing badly at work. Salespeople, their sales will dip 30, 70% during a divorce. And then as soon as the divorce is done, which by the way, their divorce has been done,
Right.
they hockey stick back up to where they are and usually do better than ever. Most people, especially salespeople, most of them are completely financially recovered and better off than ever a year after the divorce.
Right.
Okay. First of all, that's a different court.
Yep. She's trying to relitigate his fault, the divorce, to take it back there. Once you have a final court order, there's a thing in Texas called res judicata. You can't even talk about the stuff from before. The only extent that you can talk about what happened before the last court order, the last final order. Now, temporary orders are different. You can talk about things before that. But a last final order in court is to say, here is what the circumstances were at the time, and here is the changed circumstances, which is why we need to change custody or change support. That's it. But you can't go into fault. Why? Most judges won't entertain hardly any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to object, Your Honor, res judicata. And almost every res judicata objection I've ever made in my career has been sustained.
Isn't going to go well for her. She already admitted it.
Yep.
Now, y'all, I don't want you to think that if you're divorced, you're pigeonholed in your one specific job.
That is true. You can change jobs, but any significant change in income,
Right.
is you're not going to get a benefit of that in child support court usually.
Especially if you're in a temporary orders, do not go and change your job. Don't go and quit your job.
Oh yeah, in the middle of a case.
Yes.
It's even worse because it just looks obvious, like you're trying to pull that trick.
If you go and take another job and it pays a little bit less, you're probably
a little bit
fine.
less, that's
But
the key.
we're talking about drastic scenarios, like going from making $100,000 a year to making 20.
Yep, that's exactly the numbers that I just stated, and that's the whole thing. So I'm making $100,000. I get to keep 80 after I pay $20,000 in child support. So instead, I'm just going to make 20. So wait. You're going to earn $60,000 less. So that, and you're going to work you're going to work a job, same number of hours, or this job, same number of hours. And on this one, you can take home $80,000 and pay $20,000 in child support. And on this one, you can take home $20,000. And you think a judge is going to reduce your child support. Then what are you going to do right after? Go get another better job thinking you can hide it from the other person? This does not work. Do not do this.
No,
this is stupid squared.
$20,000 a year, stuff like that.
We're not here to talk about anything that went on with the divorce.
Yep, res judicata.
I just need to know about the money that you're making, because
That's
obviously
correct.
the child lives with you. Is that correct,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am.
So you have all this money in saving. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Let's
How
talk
much
about
did you make at your last job?
it. I annually $70,000.
So at your last job, here's the thing. This information from tax statements and your W-2 and your year-end pay stubs and your
better tell
current pay stubs,
the actual amount.
in Texas, anytime you have any kind of custody issue, you're required to have it exchange that ahead of time for the most part. And even if you don't, if she lies about that, those documents are going to come up. And if you lie to a judge, you go back in front of that judge and they say, Your Honor, they lied to you last time. They said they made $70,000 because I hired. You can get the transcript from your last hearing. So I bought the transcript, and here's what the transcript says. And by the way, Your Honor, I'm sure you remember, they said $70,000. Well, here's her pay stub that said she made 140 or 100.
Right.
So at that point, you're probably going to be paying my attorney's fees if I catch you doing something like that.
$70,000, okay. And that's your only job?
It was my only job. Now I work at a convenience store.
Doing
Head
what?
clerk.
Doing what?
Head clerk.
Head clerk.
head
Okay, how
clerk.
much are you making now?
About $30,000 a year.
30,000.
30.
And are you? What type of education do you have?
I have my master's.
So look,
You
don't get to go be the clerk at a store making 30 grand when you have a master's degree. You could go be a teacher and make 50 or 60.
Right.
With a master's degree,
And
you're going to be
and have plenty of time for your child.
absolutely and work school hours. I mean, this is just stupid. This is it's stupid in so many different ways.
You have a master's degree.
And she has a PhD in DUMB.
You're a head clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Again, the stresses of the divorce.
That stresses of the divorce button she keeps hitting is not going to fly. You can hit that and it might flap a wing for a second, but you're going to look more like a dead pigeon.
Inhibited me from doing my job.
Okay, don't say that again. You already said that once, and we moved on from that.
See?
So you're now making $30,000 a year, and you think that I should base child support on $30,000 instead?
Even though you have savings enough that you think you can make it and still take care of your child, and you're asking me for a reduction, at this point,
No, ma'am.
now I don't see that they have lawyers there. It looks
Right.
like they're both pro se, but if a judge hearing this would likely award attorney's fees to him
Right.
for him to have paid his attorney.
Well, ma'am, all that savings you got.
So and how much do you the judge would probably go, how much do you have in savings? What's the last 3 digits of your savings account number? How much is in your savings? I'm ordering you to pay $5,000 from your savings by 5:00 on Friday. To him for his attorney's
that you
fees.
intentionally stop working at?
Well, that is my annual income now. $30,000.
But it's your annual income because you intentionally are underemployed
Correct.
to your maximum potential. So
It doesn't even have to be your maximum,
Right.
ultimate. I have to work 120 hours a week. No, you're reasonable.
And this is why you hired an attorney, because
Yeah.
if she had gotten an attorney, the attorney would have advised her on how to handle this and what to say.
And not to screw up her life.
And not to say what she has said, because
Exactly.
she
Court is-
screwed up.
going to look at things such as
The
education,
court is going to look at things like education and your ability to work. Of course they are.
your
Yes, they are.
ability to work, your ability to handle a corporate world.
Your ability to handle a corporate world, they'll give you a little bit of slack about that. But it's that you didn't like working for that corporate job. Try that one.
If she had hired me and she was saying she's having all the stress, I would have made her go to a psychiatrist or something, and I would have doctor's notes to
you
say
better have
that,
some doctor notes about that.
This is the reason why she had to get out of a corporate job, because of the stress that she's going through, and she's under a doctor's care for the stress. And so working in a convenience
stronger
store.
argument.
Yes. I mean, you have to.
Well, how long do you
again,
think that you need to work at that convenience store? Well,
But then-
I should be okay in a year.
But then if I was, then I would flip that. If I was a judge, I'd be like, so working in a convenience store and the stress of maybe a gunman coming in and shooting you,
exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
like,
the convenience store thing, that's never going to fly.
yeah.
Convenience store versus the job she had.
Because she said I worked at Target. It was a whole different ball game than to say she's working at a convenience store.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because at
maybe.
least, like, if
It would
she
be
was,
better. I
if
don't know
she
if it
was
would still
dealing
get her
with
there.
like stress, and she said, "Hey, I went to go work at Target because it's like, you know, the environment's a lot much different than the corporate world. I
Yeah.
can actually like, I'm just, you know, checking people out. I don't have all this pressure under me, and I'm seeing a doctor. You know, you can paint that picture better
Yeah.
than to say I'm working at a convenience store.
Yeah. That is, it sounds a little half butt to me.
Additionally, they're going to look at things like where the child lives.
Yep.
She said that the child lives with the husband full time.
I also would want to know what visitation and what custody
Yeah,
she actually
what
'cause
custody.
living full time, that can mean a variety of different
They
things.
could have
Is she
week
even
on,
exerc-
week off.
Well,
You know,
well, even if he had primary custody where he has a little bit more, that's one thing. But if he has 100% of the time,
Yeah.
she never even comes and sees the kid, or she sees the
or
kid
she
for 2 hours
every other
and
weekend.
he's paying for everything, feeding the kid every single day, as opposed to like
Then
55%
if I was
of
a
the
judge,
time.
I'd throw the book at her.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you're going to be coughing up some money. You're
Yeah.
not
Or he
leaving
should
my
be-
courtroom today until you pay him this.
Yeah.
Entitled to
well,
more
they
vac-
usually. So most of the time they won't make you pay right then, but because you have to draft an order, they have to sign it. You're not
Yeah.
actually. They can pronounce it, and you're
And this is
subject
why
to
I'm
it.
not an attorney.
But then you have to have it in writing. So a lot of times they'll say you need to provide me the draft of the order and provide it to each other, and then you do that, and then you submit it to the judge, or the judge just submits it and will sign it and do what the judge wants with it. But at the point where it's a written order, and a lot of times they'll give you time to actually go to the bank and make the transaction. A few days. They'll give you, like, if you're in court on Monday, they might give you till Friday. If you're in court on Wednesday, they might say by this time next week, you got 5 days to make the payment, something like that.
child support than if the child only spent weekends with him. So she has the ability to work full time because the child is with him full time.
Exactly.
Judge Vonda is going to be rightfully so.
Your annual income now. When did you start working at your corporate job?
A year ago.
A year ago. How
A
long-
year. She did this for a year. I know this is an actor in a fake scenario, but there are people that do this. So she's just
So I'm
personifying that
kind of
person.
curious. When did their divorce get finalized? It sounded like they just got divorced like a year ago or less.
I don't know. Some people can hold on to
That's-
that spite for a long time, which is
kinda weird.
not healthy for you
No.
if you do that.
How
Not.
long were you there?
I was there for about 8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
With a master's degree at a head clerk position. What's the qualification to work at that job? It's such as
Yeah. The qualification
high
to work
school
at that job,
degree?
I don't steal. I show up. I do the job
You need a high school degree.
with some kind of common sense applied to it.
Yeah.
I'm not easy to trick.
I'm
not easy to steal
I'm able
from.
to count.
I lock the door. I show up on time.
Yeah.
I'm honest and trustworthy.
do you
High
need
school
a
diploma.
degree?
You just need a high school diploma. to
High
work
school
as a house
diploma.
clerk. Yes,
And
head
you have a
clerk.
master's degree. I'm not about to play with you. I'm not,
What did she say?
I'm not about to play with you.
I'm not about to play with you. $70,000 a year. You said you covered a child on health insurance. How much is that?
$300 a month.
$300 a month. Ma'am, I'm going to make you pay child support. You came obviously in this courtroom to
Well,
waste my time.
I have a question. How come I have to get a corporate job? How come he can't get a corporate job?
He can get a job, but the child lives with him, right?
Well, yes, and I think the reason why the child is even with him to begin with is because, this is a different court. Never mind, like you said.
Okay, thank you. So moving
Yeah.
right along, $70,000 a month. I mean, a year.
You notice she didn't go into why. Yeah, she's probably
Yeah.
got some black eyes, self-inflicted, some things that she's trying to hide, even from this judge about that, what happened in the court. I mean, if the child's living with him full time, there's some issues.
Right.
And it's either she doesn't care about the child or there was some kind of serious reasons of some sort. I think she would have been better to say, I had an alcohol problem and I lost that job. But I mean, obviously you can't go in and lie.
Well, that's the problem. She didn't have an attorney, so she had no way to she just want. I will give it to her.
Having an attorney is not going to stop her from having made that. The only way that an attorney would help her in this situation would be to tell her, this ain't going to work. Go get a better job and stay out of court because you're going to waste her time. You're not getting a child support reduction. Don't waste everybody's time. Mm-hmm. And if she hired an attorney, she would be paying that attorney $5,000-$10,000, something like that, to go in and have to waste that money, and then maybe have to cover that much or more on his side for going in. Because if they had attorneys, Vonda would have awarded attorney's fees for something like this.
Excuse me. I put your.
I'm not making $70,000 a month anymore. I'm making $30,000.
But that's what she could be making if she was not intentionally under.
Yes, ma'am. But you had a $70,000 job, and you decided to quit your $70,000 job and take a $30,000 job.
And you thought you had plenty enough money, so you got plenty enough money to continue to support your child. You don't get to reduce that either.
No.
Employed.
That's a choice you made.
And y'all, please, the good faith of the spouse who is working goes into this. If she took a $30,000 a year job at a startup that had huge potential, the judge might not be so upset, right? Because you're like,
But I think the judge would still make you pay the same amount of child support, especially since you got money in savings. You want to take that risk for the huge upside? Great. You still have to pay the proper minimum amount of child support of what you could have been making. You're the one, you're going to take that chance. Great. I applaud you. I encourage you. I think that's great. But you still have to pay and support your child. That's your minimum baseline you got to cover.
Guess what she's going to be doing? Putting her resume out. Indeed. She's going to need a new job.
You're making $30,000 for the next year or two, but that could skyrocket in the future. You're looking out for your career.
You're making $30,000 a year now, but ma'am, you intentionally work at a job that pays you less. And you think that you're going to come in this courtroom and get me to order that you pay a less amount when you're capable of making the $70,000 with a master's degree? You made that up.
I don't know.
You made that up.
Stress is intentional.
Your Honor. You already made Judge Vonda mad. Now you're going to disrespect her. Don't do that.
Excuse me. Emotional distress. I need you to go see a doctor. Okay.
Yep. Boom. Emotional distress. I need you to go see a doctor. So your gross is $58,33.33 based on that $70,000.
$5,833.33. Based on that $70,000, I'm going to give you a credit
for the health insurance.
Okay?
She's doing this under Texas law, by the way.
Brings your net to
$44.97.98 times
0.2. How many children? One child. Okay. 20%. $899.60 is going to be your monthly child support obligation that you're going to pay each month to this man.
The look on her face.
So what is that? Roughly 20%. Well, if it was 5,000, it would be 1,000. So I'm terrible at math. I'm going to say that's
20%. Tom.
20% of her net income. Come on, it's your child.
No kidding.
Again, you couldn't pay me to be a divorce lawyer.
Well, you can pay me to be a divorce lawyer because that's what I do. And so I get what he's saying, though. You couldn't pay me to be a divorce lawyer, and because you have to deal with a lot of petty and things like this. Yeah. But here's the thing. We don't do it like that. We change people's lives. We actually care about these people, and we focus on getting them to a healthy place. We would never tell or accept a client that's going to try that strategy. We would not be sitting in there in court unless we had something that was real.
Right.
Real. Because we've had people that you will see some people that have serious physical manifestations and have to take a different job. We have a current client with that. Serious physical manifestations in a very, very negative environment. Had to quit that job. Actually got a job making, I think, more than twice as much. And is doing great, real healthy, under a doctor's care for all that. Did all those things that you were just talking about, but also made more money. And it's going great. And for us, the key to being a divorce lawyer is you focus on what is healthy. You don't look at the other side as the enemy, especially if there's children.
Right.
The reward for having married you should not be you destroy that other person. No. We look at it and go, all right, If the answer to question number 1 is yes, you've decided that you need to get a divorce, or you want to get a divorce, or you're getting a divorce, then step 2 is, what do we need to do to get you through the divorce process in the healthiest way possible so that you can begin the next chapter of your life in the healthiest way?
Right.
That's what we do.
Or
if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be a divorce lawyer.
There's times where people reconcile. We have
That's
it
true
a
as well.
lot.
We do a lot. Well, we encourage and focus that on that.
And it's also the way you give advice to somebody and you try to help them. Like if you're talking to the other side and you're like, hey, let's try to work this out. And the other side's like, yeah, I think my client might be open to reconciling. Well, let's try to, make sure we don't go to court. Let's not fight.
Especially if you have kids. It's better for the kids.
Yes.
Now, it's better for the kids if you can take your unhealthy marriage and make it a healthy one again.
Right.
The remaining in an unhealthy marriage is terrible for kids.
Right.
And you're also demonstrating to your kids that marriage is this unhealthy thing. And that's not good, because their subconscious everyone's subconscious equates familiarity with safety, even if it's not. And your marriage is the demonstration of what marriage is to them. And so when they're confronted with a similar type of situation, they'll think, oh, that's what marriage is, and they'll tolerate. And you're basically cursing them. It's called a generational curse, to living the same negative things because that's what you've taught them it is. So somebody has to break that curse. And there are times when a divorce is the healthy thing. And if that's the case, we want you to get as healthy of a divorce as you possibly can. And we change people's lives. And if we didn't have the brand of soft divorce and healthy divorce, I would not want to be a divorce lawyer, because we have a very strict no revenge policy. We don't take the bad clients. We only take good clients, and we thoroughly screen them. And 90% of all of our cases result in no adverse court actions ever. We don't go to court at all for anything. And 99% of all of our cases, we don't go all the way to a final trial.
Right.
We settle 99% of our cases without having to go to final trial. And the reason why is because we focus on what's healthy. And when you do focus on what's healthy, we almost always get better results by not going to court than you can legally if you go to court and get everything that you possibly legally could have. If you go in and do the win, the vast majority of the time we get better than that by not going through that process, because that process is like taking a chainsaw through the middle of life, and it's expensive, and there's tremendous cost in terms of time, toil, and talent, and attention and emotion, all of those things. And there are some divorce lawyers that it's just about the money and we're just going to maximize the money. Well, if that's what it is, you need to put a monetary dollar value on everything. And here's something that's really important that you value. How much is it worth to you that your kids don't hate you for the way that you treated their other parent? You better put a dollar amount on that, because if you're not looking at those things and trying to maximize that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I wouldn't want to fight. I would put more money towards.
But it also doesn't mean that you're giving up.
No.
What we fight for is what's healthy.
You're putting
you're
putting your kids first. That's what it boils down to.
Sort of.
And their happiness. Because
Sort
it's
of.
already hard enough on kids as it is when parents divorce, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's hard when their life is taken to a different direction and mom and dad are living in different homes, and then mom and dad start dating different people. I mean, all that stuff starts happening, and that's a big thing to kids.
What it is a very wise and intelligent way to approach it, where you balance all of these factors. There are too many attorneys who focus and put blinders on and just focus on one metric and try and maximize that metric, and they do not. And when they do that, they never maximize all of the metrics to the fullest extent. So you've got to balance all those things. You can't just sacrifice everything for the sake of the kids, because you won't be whole and good, and you won't be healthy. And if you're not healthy, they can't be healthy.
Right.
Kids grow to be healthy under the umbrella of good relationships with both of their parents, whether they're together or separate. Right. And what we need to do is make sure that there is a good balance. Our primary concern is our client and their kids, but the other side is not the enemy. If we can do something that makes our side healthy and makes their side healthy, that is cooperative, that is going to be much better. And when we can find something that we can benefit the other side, because the healthier and happier the other side is, the less likely they are to give us future problems.
Right.
The less likely they are to have future problems. The less likely they are to do detrimental things. And for me, Summer and I, we have 4 dogs, no kids under 18. And if we were to get divorced, what would I do? We would just split everything in half. And be good. And I probably would give her a lot of support because my earning capacity is 7 to 10 times what hers is if we break up. And so I would make sure that she's good, because the reward for marrying me is not that she is bad off if things happen to not work out between us, no matter what she does. Because if she decides she's going to cheat on me or betray me or do something that I choose to end our relationship, or even vice versa, I'm the one that does something stupid, or we just grow apart, I still, no matter what, the reward for marrying me is not that I'm going to destroy you, because that's who I am.
Right.
How you are treating them is a big reflection of who you are. And we are only taking good people as clients, because life is too short for me to represent a bad or the wrong person. And there occasionally are some people that slip through, and sometimes some members of the staff will go, this person doesn't meet our agenda and then our client profile. And then I will talk with them. I will work with them. And if it doesn't work with me, because I can see into them and have a lot of forgiveness, and sometimes it just takes a higher level of emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. And I have a very high level of emotional intelligence to see and to guide and help our client get through the process, because a lot of times it's the process that is eating them alive, and we have to guide them there. That's what we mean by soft divorce or healthy divorce. We want them to be healthy, and I have to work with them. And some of them, sometimes they're too far gone, or sometimes they don't believe it, or there's other pressures, and sometimes they'll just turn on us. Or other times, very rare occasions, the wrong ones slip through, and either they don't like us or we don't like them, and we fire them or they fire us, or we get it finished and part ways and go, sayonara, best wishes, don't call it me ever again. So, that's the range of things that happen.
Right.
But thankfully, the large and true vast majority of them are exactly what we are trying to do, which is get healthy results. And when you focus on what's healthy, that's what you get.
Right.
But let's hear a little bit more about Tom.
This is what they do all day.
Not exactly. I mean, because a lot of, at least half of divorce, this is what they do all day. And they're frustrated and they're miserable and they're unhappy and they're underpaid and dissatisfied with their job. But then there are the ones like us. We basically just changed the game and changed the paradigm.
Right.
And when I realized that that's what I was doing and that's what I was called to, that's why I chose divorce over other things. There's other areas of law that make more money. And the reason I chose this is because this is what the true actual legacy is. And this is the way that I can change the world. If half the people in the United States get married, half those people get divorced. 1 in 4 people have this problem. And if I can change that, that's the way that I really change the world. It's my mission in life to change the way that people approach the divorce process. And that's why people come to us. That's why I'm doing the podcast. It's to show people who we are, how we do things, because I'm trying to get through to those divorce lawyers to say, no, focus on what is healthy.
Right.
Do not divide the metrics like that. Don't just focus on the money. Don't just focus on taking the kids away from them. You find healthy solutions, because it's great for kids to have both parents in their lives.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of 50-50, week on, week off. Once the kids are somewhere between 3 and 5, week on, week, 1 week with mom, 1 week with dad, 1 week with one parent, 1 week with the other parent. And that is good for the kids. It's easy for the kids. And if a kid takes a day or two to adjust to being with a different parent, if they're only with them for 2 days, they're never adjusted.
Right.
But if you're there for a week, they adjust through the weekend, they're good through the week, they can be prosperous and healthy and good students and focus on their lives, and then they change. But usually it doesn't take that, because it's a mindset shift once a week.
Right.
4 times a month they have to deal with any kind of mindset shift. That is excellent for kids. And the reports that I have of talking with parents and kids who have grown up, kids who are still kids, kids who are in their 20s that went through divorces, parents whose parents were divorced and they're divorced or they were together, all kinds of different variations of all kinds of different family structures. I talk with them and talk with them and talk with them week on, week off. Traditionally is the one that has the least problems, the least time where they have to come back with any kind of different problems. And it's just a really good thing, but it requires good parenting on both sides and cooperation on both sides.
Right.
It's terrible. It's basically babysitting.
So some of it sucks. Some of it certainly is babysitting, but I don't really look at it like that. It's babysitting for the jerks and people that we can't get through to go, no, we want to do this and be healthy about it. But it's not babysitting. It's emotionally dealing with people. It's a very emotional area of law. And by having a high level of emotional intelligence and emotional intellect and emotional wisdom, and the reason why we read all the books and the reason why I go to the seminars and the reason why I study with Lanny Basham, a mindset coach, it's a vast majority about it is the mindset that you create, and it's about the language that you use and focusing on things that are healthy and the process that we go through. And really this is the area of law that puts the counselor in attorney and counselor at law. There is a lot of counseling and reassurance and painting healthy pictures for them, because the babysitting, it's when people are doing these type of things, it's because they're emotionally hurt and they're frustrated, and a lot of times they don't have the skill set or they don't have the encouragement. There's a lot of encouraging.
Right.
So it's not babysitting, it's encouraging, and it's guiding and mentoring and leading. It's dealing with people. Those are the type of attorneys that are good at family law.
Right.
And are there some people that you just can't get through one way or the other? Yes, some of them. And every time we have one of those, I go, how could I have helped that person? How can I increase my skill set to be able to have even gotten through to that person? Because I don't think that the vast majority of people you can get through to. Some of them are just, you just got to let them go.
Right.
And the other thing is that with our client screening, there's so many people that are attracted by our branding and our method and our way of doing things that we just have to try and repel the people that are the people that aren't going to come back, and they're just deciding they're going to be a jerk. They're not going to listen to us. They're uncooperative. We're not going to be able to help them. And our branding screens those people out.
Right.
So it sucks that I can't necessarily help those people. But the reason why we're doing the podcast is maybe some of those people will watch this and something will click in them and go, okay, I want to change. I want to be that person that wants healthy. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make myself better. And then I'm going to seek out good, high quality professional help like us to get through the process.
If there are any family law attorneys watching this video.
Are there any family law attorneys watching this video? You know it's true. Okay, Tom, I want you, Tom, watch this video, please. Or somebody send at least those segments to Tom about what I was talking about there. Because I get it. Tom, we should go to lunch because I'm a different breed. I'm not the cliche. We've changed the paradigm. We've changed the game. This is how we do it. But I get what you're saying, brother.
You know it's true. Not only do you know it's true, you're not even mad at me for saying it.
I'm not mad at you for saying it. I'm changing your paradigm too. That's the difference. There is a better way. And I am one of the industry leaders, if not the industry leader. But there are a lot of people that are doing this. I'm the one calling it out for what it is and saying, this is our core values. This is what we believe in. This is what we do. And do we just roll over and take bad deals or make bad deals or do, give too much because we don't want to fight? No. We are extremely powerful. And Jordan Peterson has said, we are powerful and dangerous. But we are wise and tame, and we do things for the right reasons. But if I have to slay someone and go into court and slay them because I've given them grace and they are spitting in the face of it, you get me into the courtroom, I'm gonna do. We're gonna be showing a lot of truth, and we're gonna expose for the situation for where it is that you are, and it's gonna come out, and you don't want to be on the opposite side of us in court, because by the time that we get there, we know why we're there. And sometimes there are legitimate issues that we really can't solve, and somebody has to just make that decision.
Right.
And sometimes there are things that we really just don't know, and there are some mysteries or some concerns or just problems about it. Or sometimes it's another side that the other side, they know that they're going to lose custody of their kids, but they can't bring themselves to voluntarily do it. They just can't. And so somebody else has to force it upon them. And a lot of times it's because of the story that they tell themselves or the story that they have to tell themselves later, and they need a scapegoat for some of their actions. There's a lot of reasons that we do get into court, but it's not because we're afraid to go to court. It's just because most of the time when you're going to court, it is torture on both sides.
Right.
And especially our client. We don't want to put our client through that. And again, by working and focusing on what's healthy, we can get better results by not going into court.
Right.
So why would you get worse results? And there are attorneys that they always go to court. And they're doing massive disservices to their client. When they think, oh, I'm so good and I win and do this. You're not. You're bringing in destruction into the world. It's not what you should be doing.
Right.
But no, Tom, I'm not mad at you for saying it.
You're saying you're absolutely right.
Was I saying that? I'm saying I get what you're saying, and I'm saying that a lot of it can be like that. And there are attorneys out there that don't believe what I believe. They believe that in the cliches of that. And yeah, those attorneys think exactly that stuff.
Right.
And there are also attorneys that realize, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to try and get in the trenches and represent those people, the type of clients that we don't want, or that we've screened out, or just decided that aren't the right ones, because we can help other people better. And so we have to make choices, because the amount of clients that want to come to us are more than we can actually even handle. That would and do and will want to come to us. So we have to be selective in some things. We don't take every client that walks in. We just can't. But for the people that are doing that, yeah, Tom is exactly right about those, not about us.
You looking confused, and I don't understand why you looking.
I'm not looking
like that.
confused. You said what you're saying, and I'm okay. I'm taking it all in.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Thank
now,
Vonda knows she's FOS.
further.
No, ma'am.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
No, Your Honor. And also, the girl, she's a judge. She's literally, you don't have a choice. You can't just say you're listening and take it all in. This is a court order.
Yeah.
I feel like a stand-up comedian, because this is a show with a bunch of clowns.
Okay, if there's nothing further, you all are dismissed.
All right, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
I just
Tom?
found out.
Tom, me and Vonda should all go out to lunch one day. Actually, we should do the podcast together and watch one of these.
Yes.
We should watch one that maybe we should watch this one and talk about this one, because Vonda was in it, Tom was in it, and now I'm in this version of it. So, and you're in this. We should have them all come to the podcast. By the way, Vonda is going to be on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, we're probably going to have every local judge within whatever radius that wants to come.
We need
actually
to have
to the
her
show.
bring Gene Lee with her.
Oh,
So
that would be
her
good. We could have
associate-
her and Gene. Well, no, we just have Gene on her own show, or whatever. I mean, both of them, whoever, however. We're gonna have all these judges, and we look forward to seeing you. And in your Jennifer Hardy Har T-shirt, that we're gonna have the link in the description. You got to get one of those. And this is the Lawyer Dana Show. See you in the next one.
Bye.